Hello, I'm David Lucas, your learning engineer. I hope that you're learning more about communicating with people with disabilities. I'm learning a lot from you. Thank you. This module is all about an attitude adjustment, learning to care about people with disabilities. I'm reminded of two items from my younger days. One is an old country song. I can't even sing it, and you wouldn't want me to. Attitude adjustment. And I think that people need an attitude adjustment. But then from the old famous movie, Cool Hand Luke, and I'm sure you could say this with me, what we have here is a failure to communicate. And that's all very true. That we need attitude adjustments as we learn to communicate with people with disabilities. This is not our fault in that we've got these prejudices because we learned them. So we have to unlearn them and learn new traits, new strategies to develop good communication. So let me talk with you a little bit about what to do. First of all, don't be afraid to make a mistake. When you meet or communicate with a person with a disability, they understand, they've been there before, and if you're patient and try, they'll be helpful for the greater part, for the most part. Imagine how you would react if you were in similar situations. Try to put yourself in their place. Keep in mind that a person who has a disability, like we've said numerous times, is a person. And like you, is entitled to dignity, consideration, respect, and rights. The same rights you expect. Always treat adults as adults. Be careful here, because we have a tendency to treat people with disabilities as children or as if they're unable to understand what we're saying, and when in reality they could have been in a war battle, a combat zone in Iraq and lost their leg or lost an eye, and they're still very capable of maintaining a great lifestyle. So keep those things in mind. Always try to relax. That's the lesson I've learned in doing this course, is don't get all uptight, don't get all worried, don't get all stressed out, as students often do. Just relax and treat people with dignity and honor. The person who has a disability will often help put you at ease. I'll give you an example. I've mentioned J.W. Smith, my friend who's blind, a professor at the Athens campus. And I remember when the first time I met him, I said, "Oh, it's good to see you. Good to finally meet you." And then I hesitated. He goes, "Oh," he said, "Dave, don't worry about that. I use the word good to see you, or the phrase good to see you, all the time." And often people with disabilities will give you the parameters. They'll give you the relationship parameters so that you don't have to worry about what's right to say or do or not to do. Here's something important too. If you feel like you need to offer assistance to a person with disabilities, offer it once kindly, but don't insist. Sometimes they might get a little bothered and say, "Do I look like I need your help?" And don't let that put you off, because they hear that all the time so much, and people force themselves on them often so much that it bothers them. So be careful with that. Just be kind like you would anyone to help them in some way. And if they say no, then just back off. It's okay. And finally, if someone with a disability is accompanied by another individual, and we've said this before and I'm going to hammer at this, address the person with disability. I'm especially thinking in terms of people who have problems with hearing. If they're non-hearing, don't look at the interpreter, but look at the person with the disability and speak with them. The interpreter will sign for them. They may not look back at you all the time. They may be watching the interpreter, but look at them. This is a kind of an interesting way to communicate, but I think it's very, very important for you to learn to do that. Treating people with dignity. These are just some ways you can have an attitude adjustment, and you can learn to communicate and not have problems, as we think in this module about attitude and learning to care.